This is Hayakon Street in Tel Aviv, which runs parallel to the coastline. It's where many of the city's hotels are located. But right now, things could not be quieter. There are no tourists and the airport is closed. This is one of the few hotels that is open, but this is the closest we can go. Assuming you want to enter, you have to have what is called a green passport. It's issued after persons received 2 vaccinations 21 days apart. And in a month's time, just opposite the hotel, you won't be able to enter shops like this. You won't be able to enter supermarkets, gyms, shopping centers, synagogues. In fact, you won't be able to go just about anywhere in Israel unless you have a green passport. It comes as the government steps up efforts to vaccinate the population. It's being met with mixed reaction on the street.
I think it's necessary. I think it's a good idea. We can't force everyone to vaccinate, but always a choice has a consequence, and it shouldn't be that everybody in Israel suffers because some people make a bad choice.
I think it's absurd. I think it's ridiculous. Basic human rights are being ignored here. If I choose what to put into my body and I choose not to put a vaccine in myself, I'm going to be banished from getting into a soccer game, getting into a mall, taking my boy to a day trip. It's ridiculous.
So, you know, human rights are important, and it's very easy to slide down when you start, even with the good intentions, to do things like too much governmental enforcement. So
Jerusalem plans to ban unvaccinated people from certain jobs and has warned that anyone found forging vaccine certificates will be jailed. A black market for counterfeit certificates is thriving on Telegram, where already 100,000 users have joined groups that promote forgeries.
I think that the government should not ban people from having jobs.
I think that the government should most definitely ban people who put others at risk from jobs in which they can put others at risk.
More important than my job is my life, and my life is at stake if I don't take the vaccination. So I would take the vaccination, and if I get to keep my job because of it, then it's an extra bonus.
I understand if people take this road and forge a certain document. I wouldn't do it personally, but I can completely understand.
this is a crime. I think that whoever sells these copies or make them or buy them should be punished.
Vaccine hesitancy and skepticism have become a growing concern in recent weeks as Israel's world-leading inoculation program slows down. Just under 2 million Israelis have not received either of the 2 shots, and many say they don't plan to. It's forcing the government to come up with new incentives to encourage
Prime Minister
people
has
to
confirmed
receive
that the UK government will consider the case for the introduction of so-called vaccine passports. The document could take the form of a vaccine certificate or proof of COVID status, and the NHS mobile app could be modified to carry that information. But Mr Johnson was keen to emphasise the considerable difficulties involved, and it is an idea that he and other ministers have dismissed several times in the past. He said he was still confident that all restrictions in England could be lifted by June the 21st. In Scotland, the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has unveiled what she called a deliberately cautious strategy with a phased reopening of the economy. More on Scotland in just a moment, but first our Deputy Political Editor Vicky Young on the debate at Westminster.
Up and down the country, every minute of the day.
OK, thank you.
People are getting some protection from the virus that's changed our lives.
3, 2, 1, shut scratch.
This is our way out of COVID restrictions. If everything goes according to plan, this summer dance floors, theatres and concert venues could be packed once more. But should everyone be let through the doors, or only those who've been vaccinated? Ministers need to decide soon.
We're looking at a novelty for our country. We haven't had stuff like this before. We've never thought in terms of having something that you have to show to go to a pub or a theatre. And so there are deep and complex issues that we need to explore, ethical issues.
Not everyone is waiting for the government review. To protect vulnerable residents, some care homes are asking employees for proof they've had a vaccine.
With new staff that are joining us, we're just going to make it a requirement
that they have to have the vaccine. And if they're not willing to, then they can't work for us.
It's not just the care sector taking this approach. Other companies want employees to be vaccinated too.
It's going to be the protection and safety of their staff and also protection and safety of their customers. So I feel it's a no-brainer, basically.
What about people who decide that they either can't have one for medical reasons or they don't want to have one? It's not compulsory in this country. Is that unfair on them?
The ones that don't want to have it, that's not unfair. That's their decision. That's their choice. But I think it's going to mean that they won't get a job. They won't be able to go to pubs, restaurants, theatres, or even travel. So that's their choice.
Ministers accept that other countries are likely to ask for vaccine passports before we can travel abroad. But some say using them at home is unfair.
It's really important that the government holds fast to the idea that vaccination is voluntary. It's a fundamental right that we should be able to choose what medical treatment we have or we don't have. And inevitably those people who would be most disadvantaged by any system would be those people who are already marginalised, already poorer or already disadvantaged in other ways.
For weeks, the government's ruled out a vaccine passport or certificate for domestic use. But that's now changed. There's going to be a review and ministers say they're going into it with an open mind. One idea being looked at is to use the existing NHS app so people can record whether they've been vaccinated or had a negative test before they enter a venue. The government knows that vaccinations and testing are the key to opening up many businesses, but they need to avoid a divisive
vaccine
two-tier
passports. Are we going to need those? Arthur Kaplan's here, professor of medical ethics at the NYU Grossman School of Medicine. Arthur, thank you. Practically, they make sense, obviously, but ethically, what are the pros and cons of these immunity passports?
Hey, Shep, thanks for having me. Well, the downside, a lot of people are going to know where you've been, where you're going. Government will know. Obviously, the health system may know if they have to verify the shots. So you're going to lose some privacy. And the downside is I'm sure some folks are going to get into forging and lying and trying to, sell a vaccine passport. But I don't think that's going to stop this. I'll make a prediction. We'll have vaccine passports here by the fall, certainly by next year. Airlines, cruise ships, hotels, gyms, bars, they're all going to say, look, in order for us to tell our customers that it's safe, we want to see that passport. Absolutely coming.